What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. It's Haley, and please excuse my appearance first and foremost. It's about 5:30 a.m. I got back from a concert and then fell asleep on accident watching a movie on my computer, and then I woke up and I couldn't get back to sleep, and I wasn't in the mood to take off my makeup, and I was like, okay, let me film a video. I've been wanting to film for a long time, so please excuse how I look and my hair and all that good stuff. Today I wanted to tell you guys my first ever story. So it'll be my first ever story time video. I know story times have become a huge thing on YouTube now. There's so many YouTubers whose main content is story times, and I'm definitely open to my channel being more of a story time channel if this is a video that you guys like and are interested in. Without further ado, I am going to tell you guys the story about the time I was robbed and the robber was tackled and pepper sprayed and arrested. So this happened back in the middle of October, and I was headed to the craft store, which if you live in the United States, I don't know if it's just in the South or all over the US, it's a craft store called Michael's. So I was heading to Michael's and was going to pick up some Halloween stuff. Nice and harmless, right? It was one of my days off, so I was very dressed down. I was in sweatpants and flip-flops, I think. I pull up to the craft store. I grab my backpack and shove my wallet in my backpack and my keys, which are on a keychain, and then my phone. So I entered the store and I grabbed a big cart because I do tend to buy a lot of Halloween stuff, and that's what I was there for. So I pick up a cart, I throw my backpack in, and I throw my keys in the cart, and I'm holding my phone physically on my person. Let me explain the layout. When you walk through the front entrance, there is a hall with little kiosks kind of down it where there's stickers and just candles and random crap. Then off this main hall, there's a bunch of aisles, and that's where all the good stuff is. And that's just one portion of the store, but that's the portion that the story takes place in. So I was pushing my little cart just straight down that main aisle. I walked down a couple little kiosk sections where there was, like I said, candles, stickers, and all that small crap. And I was probably 3 kiosks in. So I was pushing my cart, and then I walk around my cart. I have my phone in my hand. My keys and my backpack are in my cart, and at this point I had thrown maybe 2 or 3 items in my cart, so it wasn't empty, but it definitely wasn't full. I'm not physically looking at my cart at this time, but I am right next to it, but there's a little space. So I'm looking at stickers, and then I find the ones I want, and then I throw it in my cart, and then I walk back around. So I'm pushing it for about maybe 3 seconds, and then I look down in my cart and I'm something's missing. Where's my backpack? I, kind of feel my shoulders. Did I throw it on real quick? No. Am I crazy? Did I not have my backpack in here this whole time? Then I realize, no, you're not crazy. You did have your backpack in the cart. Everything that happened next was just me reacting to my backpack being missing. There was no rational thought processing. I immediately leave my cart, leave my keys and all my stuff that I was going to buy in the cart. I have my phone in hand. I just start taking off up and down, going down aisle. Who the hell just took my backpack? There wasn't school stuff in it or anything. It was all of my personal stuff and my money and my cash and my driver's license and my wallet, and a copy of my social security card, and so much stuff that was precious and important to me. Just going up and down these aisles, moving really quick. I get maybe 4 aisles down. I catch a figure moving out of the corner of my eye, and he's booking it out the exit. And it's this bigger white dude with red hair. He was wearing a light jacket over the shirt he was wearing, so there's an obvious bulge in the side of his jacket where it looks like he's concealing a big bag of some sort, and I'm that's my guy. And I just start following him. I'm slowly catching up to him, and then he walks through the front entrance, makes a right, starts walking at the same like brisk speed off to the right, thinking that he had, you know, gotten away. I give it about 10 seconds, still standing behind him, but like just watching at this point. Lo and behold, he pulls the backpack out of where he was concealing it in his jacket, and I see him like grab it and like start to unzip it to be like, ooh, what did I get? That's when I just like snap, and I run up next to him, and I literally just snatch the backpack out of his hand and go, that's mine. The expression on his face was so priceless and just like unreal. It was like, it was so funny, but it wasn't funny at the time because I was pissed. He looked like he had been 100% sure he had just gotten away with stealing my backpack. And he looks at me like super confused, literally has no words, like physically cannot speak. And so he goes, sorry, and starts running, but not like running, like between briskly walking and running, like trying to leave the situation. Like, you got your backpack, see you later. I start yelling, where do you think you're going? You just stole my backpack. Excuse me, you just stole my backpack. And I'm like screaming. It's like 4:30 p.m. So there's tons of people like in this outdoor shopping mall shopping, and people are just like pushing their carts to their car and like what's going on? And I'm like screaming, you just took my backpack, you just took my backpack. And the guy starts booking it. This is when he really starts running. So I throw my backpack over my shoulder and I start running after him. And I hear people shouting from like different like portions of the parking lot. They're like, are you okay? Do you need help? I just wasn't paying attention. I was running because I was like, this guy is not about to get away unscathed, no punishment. He just stole my backpack. And if I hadn't grabbed it and caught him, I would have never seen any of that stuff again. He would have had my social security and my address, where I live. You know, like that is sort of terrifying. I didn't feel that it was okay for him to just get away with doing that. So that's my rationalization for continuing to chase him. So he was running down the parking lot between the Michaels and the PetSmart, and I was chasing behind him. And this was a big guy. Like, he wasn't super fast, but in his head he was like, get away. So he was running with all that adrenaline and the fear of being caught and getting in trouble, and I was running in my flip-flops like, no you don't. He rounds the corner and I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot lose him. So I start running faster, and then right when I get to the corner where you can like see around the back of the store, I see him hiding. You know where some stores have trash bins and they like set up a little gate around it and like lock the gate so that people don't like go dumpster diving? He had like wedged himself between the door and the gate, and he was like closing the gate, and he had his back to me, so I knew he wasn't seeing that I could see where he was. So I was like, perfect, I have him in one spot. He's probably gonna hide there for a little while, and that would give me a chance to call the police. So this next part is extremely frustrating, and I could make a whole other rant slash story just about what happened next. While he was hiding in the dumpster, I called the police to say, I just got robbed, this guy is running, you know, I have him in my sight, and, you know, please come help me. Once the cops got there, I was gonna let them deal with it how they wanted to. I didn't want to press charges, but I did want him to, you know, at least get some sort of slap on the wrist. So I call the police, and it's ringing, 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 and then I get a message saying, we're busy at the moment, please call back later, or please call back again, or something about calling back. And my first reaction is, what the hell? I just called 911 and they didn't pick up. Okay, the situation I'm in right now, I mean, it sucks, it's annoying, but like whatever. It's not life or death. But what if I was in like a Taken movie situation where I had like one chance to call the police and I was like hiding under the bed and I get a message saying call back later? Like you're busy? I can't call back later. I'm about to get murdered. That was a real issue for me. And that doesn't just happen once in this story. I don't know what was happening with the Dallas Police Department that day, but I pray that it was just that day. If that is something that happens to people every day, that is absolutely unacceptable. So back to the story. Calling the police, like I said, they don't answer. I'm, keeping them in my sights, but I'm staying like far back enough behind the PetSmart to where he can't see me. I see him, open the gate and like slyly like sneak out and then start, swiftly walking still further away from the Michaels. So he was walking down the sidewalk section next to the restaurant, absolutely thinking that I had just given up or he had gotten away or whatever the case may be, that he was in the cool, he was good. So I'm keeping my distance back so that I don't spook him, so he doesn't run or anything, but I follow him. I see him around the corner and open the door to this bakery, and I see him walking straight to the bathroom. By this point, I had called the police another time and gotten the call back later answering machine again. I had no makeup on, like tear-soaked face, my face was red, I was breathing hard. So as soon as I opened the door, the people that were working there all like instantly noticed me. So the cashier is like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" And I said, "No, that guy just stole my backpack." And I pointed in the direction of the guy that had just walked to the bathroom. And he was like, "Oh wait, the guy that just came through the store?" I was like, "Yeah, he just went to the bathroom." And I've been trying to call the police, but they're not picking up. And while I was talking to the cashier, one of the kitchen workers was standing like right behind him listening. So the cashier picks up the bakery phone and starts calling 911, and the kitchen guy comes out. So we're standing side by side, kind of making like a human chain where this guy like won't be able to get through us because we'll be blocking his way. And I hear the cashier talking to the police. Up to this point, I really hadn't thought about, like what if he comes out and stabs me, or, what if he's mentally unstable and is gonna like attack me or something. I was just in the mindset that he needs to get what he deserves. So I'm standing there waiting for maybe like 5 minutes. So I hear from the cashier that the police are on their way, and I'm like, okay, great. We just need to hope that he'll stay in this bathroom, but we're standing here in case he doesn't. And as soon as I'm like thinking that, he rounds the corner and is walking out, and he just has this smile on his face like, oop, that was a close one. All of a sudden stops in his tracks, makes eye contact with me, and eye contact with the kitchen worker that was standing next to me, and his face just goes to like, I think he realizes like we are literally squared up blocking his way, and he just starts walking in this scary wrestler type of like menacing walk, and he just comes up and plow bangs the absolute shit out of my shoulder as hard as he possibly could. And I was like not expecting him to do that. It caught me super off guard. And this is a big guy. I want to say he was maybe like 250 pounds. So it was not like a soft, oh, like, excuse me. It was like a, get the fuck out of my way. Like that type of like hit. So my instant reaction is to grab on to his collar and literally hold on for dear life. He turns quickly because I have him like by the side, and he like whips around so that I have to let go with one of my hands, but one of my hands was still holding on to it. And he grabs the hand that's holding on to it and literally twists my arm, and it hurt so bad I could have screamed, but I was like so angry and I had so much adrenaline like built up that I didn't react other than like, ow! He gets out of my grasp, obviously, once he twists my arm and opens the door to the bakery and starts running further away from the Michaels. And immediately the guy that had phoned the police, the cashier of the bakery, he track star takes off after this guy. And I'm trying to recover from my arm being twisted and my shoulder being knocked, and the kitchen worker's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "We're gonna get him." And the kitchen worker goes out the door and takes off behind both of them. I'm like, okay, yes, we're gonna be able to apprehend this guy. I pull out my phone to let the police know that we had moved locations, and this time they finally answer, and I say, "Hi, you know, someone just called from the bakery, and I just wanted to let you know, like, we do have this guy, but, you know, he's on the move, so we're following him, and now we're..." And then I described approximately where we were. And the lady was so freaking rude. She was like, "Ma'am, I have the police going to the bakery. You need to keep them at the bakery." And I was like, "This guy is a 250-pound adult male. How do you expect me to keep him at the bakery? He doesn't want to stay at the bakery. He wants to run." And she goes, "Well, you need to let him run." And I was like, "I'm sorry, you want me to call the police, have them come here, but then the whole reason for them to come here is to get this guy, and then I'm not gonna have him? That doesn't make any sense." She was like, "Okay, well, if you want to chase him, just so you know, there's a very good chance that he might have a knife or might be dangerous, and if so, we warned you and we're not going to be held responsible for that." And I was just like, "Okay, thanks so much, bye," and hung up. I proceed to walk down this path that everyone was running down, and in my head I was like, okay, I'm sure those two guys were able to get him. They probably have him like sitting on the ground. We'll all just wait for the police and it'll be great. So I round the corner behind this next cluster of stores. I literally see the cashier from the restaurant laying on the cement, wrapped around the robber's leg, and then the guy from the kitchen literally holding the guy who's kneeling on the ground with the guy wrapped around his leg. He's holding on to the collar of his shirt, and it was like so surreal, and I was just like, what the heck? I see the guy on the ground is like struggling, and the guy on the top is struggling, and this guy's like hurting him, you know, he's literally like has his weight on this dude laying on the cement. So I did take a picture of this to make sure if the guy got away, I would have a picture of his face and I could show the police. So here's a picture. So at this point, seeing this scene happening, I whip out my pepper spray, which was in my backpack, and I literally walk up to about 3 inches from this guy's face, and I just spray like this. And I hold it down for a good 20 seconds, and the guy starts screaming, and he just like lets go, and so the guy's able to get up off the ground, and the other guy's able to, like, you know, let go of him, and he's just like sitting there like this, like rolling back and forth. And finally, like, yes, he won't be able to run now. And it was so crazy because I never pepper sprayed anyone before, and it's like such a weird experience and feeling. Finally, he kind of like succumbed to the fact that he was caught. I have another video of what happened next, but I'm not sure if I will be able to include it. If I do include it, it'll be right here.
It's this way. I get you out. Come on. Mace. Hey, Brian, I've been maced before, man. Yeah. It don't feel good. I got the police guy, not the regular. I will get. If you go this way, I get you water. Me out the kitchen.
You can see the cashier from the bakery was like very cool, very nice, and was trying to just kind of sweetly talk to the robber and say, look man, you got caught, just give it up, like it'll be good. And he was saying like, I've been pepper sprayed before, so I know it sucks, like let's go grab you some water, let's go back to the bakery, I'll get you some water, and we can just wait for the police and then do whatever happens next. So he was like rationally trying to get the guy to, you know, go back to the place where the police knew that we were at. and all would be over. But the guy had different plans. So instead of walk back towards the bakery and back towards Michael's, he wanted to keep walking the other way. He was not, you know, going down without more of a fight. So he was like, okay, no, I don't need some water. Let me get some cigarettes. And at this point, I'm just like rolling my eyes like, oh my gosh, like what? Why do you need cigarettes? I'm kind of just hanging back. So we round this corner and there's this little gas station type place and they have cigarettes and drinks and snacks and whatever. So them two walk in and I'm sitting on the outside waiting for them and I'm just like, what in the hell is going on? Long story short, he comes out. And then I hear the guy saying, okay, let's go back to the restaurant now. You got your cigarette. The guy was like, I don't want to go back. I'm not going to get arrested. And at this point, I was just like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. If this guy runs, yes, I'll be able to chase him, but like, what am I going to do? Me versus him. Nothing at that point is gonna work out well for me. The guy was literally repeatedly reminding the robber that if he runs, like, I will catch you and I will tackle you and she'll probably pepper spray you again. And I was like, yes, I will. So he decides to cross this busy street that we were off of to continue to go further away from where we were at. And this time he's like, there's a liquor store down this way, like, let me go get a drink. And I'm just like rolling my eyes. This guy is trying to get out of this. So I'm standing back 10 or 15 feet and they're walking ahead of me and I hear the robber trying to be like, oh, my mom's sick, or making up some story to get the cashier to let him go. And the cashier, you know, was on my side and was like, no, man, you did something bad. I see this guy rip out of the cashier's grip and run back across the street. And this is like a busy street around traffic time and he is like straight dodging cars. Like, I don't know how he got across the street without anyone hitting him. Me and the other guy are stuck across the street and I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna get away. We start crossing the street and there's cars honking at us and driving really fast and we're trying to like wiggle our way around all of them. And the guy who robbed me gets pretty far and all of a sudden, a miracle from God, clouds opened up and a police car literally pulls up right in front of where the guy is running. I see the police officer look at us as we're running behind him and literally yells, is this the guy? And I was like, yes! Get him! And the police officer instantly goes, sir, and runs up to him. The guy just gives it up at this point. He immediately puts handcuffs on him and sits him down on the grass. We run to catch up where they're at and the police officer asks me what happened. I tell him the story. I was at Michael's and he stole my backpack and then I grabbed it and then we went on this wild goose chase. Now you have him apprehended. So he gives me this funny look after I tell him what happens. And then he looks back over at the guy who did it, looks back at me, looks back at him, and goes, didn't I arrest you last week? In my head, I'm like, huh. Didn't he arrest you last week? He has a face and a body, and just someone that you would remember, you know? And the guy is totally silent. After the police officer gets his side of the story, he comes over to me and he was like, yeah, I arrested him last week. He was robbing a 7-Eleven. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, he was arrested last week and now he's running free grabbing backpacks again. That doesn't really make sense. And the officer didn't have a really good explanation. That's when a couple other officers pulled up and I got to talking with this one guy and girl officer. They were asking me, you know, what was in your backpack? I opened my backpack and showed them everything that was in there. And they were like, if you can find 5 forms of identification or something with your name on it, we'll be able to charge him with a higher charge where he won't be able to just go to jail for one night and then instantly get out. And I was like, well, clearly if this isn't his first offense, if he was robbing a 7-Eleven last week, I think he needs more than a slap on the wrist this time. We were able to come up with 5 forms of ID, so it seems like he did get in a little bit more trouble this time. After that, they pretty much popped him in the police car and drove him away. They gave me a case number and I got the police officer's name. Other than that, I haven't really heard anything about what ended up happening to him. So I don't really have much of a resolution to the story other than that we were able to find all those forms of ID. So I'm assuming that he did get in bigger trouble and hopefully he learned his lesson not to steal in the future, and especially not to mess with someone like me, because I'm not just gonna let you get away with it, you know? That's pretty much it for my story time. I'm sorry that it was really long. I kind of like to share a lot of details in a story, maybe sometimes too many, but hopefully you enjoyed the story nonetheless. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy this, please leave a like. If you haven't subscribed and you would like to, I would absolutely love if you did. Definitely let me know down below what you thought of the story, and if you would like to see more story times from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much, and have a wonderful day wherever you are. Bye.